All right. We will call to order this meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee. It's March 4th, 2025. Bill, can you start us off with the roll call, please?
Hanairo,
Here.
Lorman,
Here.
and Jackson not currently present, but we do have a quorum with 2.
Okay, thank you. Next item of business is approval of the minutes of our February 18th, 2025 Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes of the February 18th, 2025 Finance and Personnel Committee meeting are accepted as drafted. Next item is the audit of the bills. And Bill, do you have any additions for us?
Yes, I do. I have 3 additions this evening. The first is for Nutrisystems Corporation, $646.04. That is for the Senior Center Nutrition Program. Next item is Alliant Insurance. This is for the airport operator or airport owner's insurance that the city holds for the airport. The amount is $4,868, and that is paid by the Airport Enterprise Fund. And then finally, we have the monthly payment for the navigation easement for Lot 1 Deming Way LLC. That amount is $10,311.16. That is split between TID 3 and the Airport Enterprise Fund.
Okay. What was the first amount? Was it 646?
$646.04.
4 cents. Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the audit of the bills? And this is both the invoices and credit cards with the 3 additions that Bill mentioned.
I'm going to make that motion.
And I will second it. All right, discussion. No questions? I don't have any questions either. Okay, then all those in favor of approving the audit of the bills, including the $646.04 to Nutrisystems, the $4,868 to Alliant Insurance, and the $311.16 to cover the navigation easement on Deming Way, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to resolutions. We have 1. It's resolution 2025-11, final assessments for Parmenter Street reconstruction. This comes to us from the Public Works Committee, and we're seeking a recommendation that council approve the resolution.
Sure. Speaking on behalf of Public Works, I'll make a motion for that.
I will second that. Discussion.
Sean is moving to the podium.
Okay. Welcome, Sean.
I only just wanted to bring to your attention, I'll be asking the council to approve a new version of the engineer's report that goes with this resolution. The Public Works Committee had approved the engineer's report, but subsequent to that meeting, we had to correct an error in the calculations for the sidewalk amounts. And so that new version is in the packets, but it had not been approved by the Public Works Committee.
Okay. So, but the packet has the update, the corrected report, and also the resolution that we're going to be asking council to pass references the needs for the council to approve that report, correct?
That's correct. I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Okay.
Isn't that just actually changing something physical to the project, or is it just estimate cost?
It's a calculation cost.
Okay.
There was an error in the spreadsheet.
Okay,
and that has been corrected. So the new version of the report is February 25th. And the Schedule C total amount went down slightly to $255,000, a little under 255.
gotcha.
May I ask where all of the sidewalk calculations
Yeah,
change? Okay,
Yeah, it was throughout.
okay. All right. Okay, any further questions? All right. Then all those in favor of recommending to council the approval of resolution 2025-11, final assessments for Parmenter Street reconstruction, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And yeah, and the resolution does have the language we need about approving that corrected report. Okay, now we move on to agreements and contracts. We have 4. And Matt, you'll let us know if anything needs to be pending
Yeah, I
your,
think just the first one, we have the right language, it's just not in the version that is in the packet.
okay,
Everything else was okay with.
okay. All right, so the first item is the rec desk payment agreement. This comes to us from the PRFC. We saw it last time and had some questions. So the motion for approving this agreement needs to be pending city attorney review and approval.
Okay, Lorman will make that motion.
I will second. All right, discussion. Matt, can you tell us what, I appreciated Laura sending the answers to the questions I had posed. In looking at the agreement that's in the packet for this meeting, I still am, I find it confusing that the flat rate model and the service fee model are both listed. Although the FAQs or the Q&A rather, does say that we would be using the flat rate pricing model.
So I have answers for that. One of the updates to the agreement is taking out the other model because
Okay.
we're not going to be using it, so.
Okay, that's good. Is it possible to see the one that we're being asked to approve?
Well, I mean, other than that, the only other language that I had wanted in there is there was in the confidentiality portion, just the way it was worded, I wanted some definition of what they meant by confidential information, I think is the term. They provided the language and then we actually had a version where that got put in, but that's just not in this
No, then
version.
this one. Okay.
So that's that's the only difference between what is in the packet and what I wanted to see.
Okay. I had a question on, well, it's page 21 of our packet. And there is a note, they have a note with 1 asterisk, 1 with 2, and 1 with 3. But I don't see the one with 3 applied to anything. And that note is daily settlement cutoff times are midnight local time. And my question is that our local time or rec desk's local time? Because they're in Middletown, Connecticut, and they've got Eastern time referenced on the same page.
Oh, that's on the
I'm not sure.
sheet.
So just some clarification there. And so we will not be using the ACH e-check processing. Is that correct?
Sorry. Yeah, that's correct. We're not using it now. We won't be using it for the next one.
Okay, so is it possible to, because again, on this next page right there, it says ACH processing fees if option selected or elected. And I don't see anywhere in the agreement where it says what we're electing. So I don't,
Yeah, well, I think if we can just get Schedule A to just show the fee structure that we are using.
That would be-
be That's what I was going to
Okay.
suggest, and it sounds like that, they were okay with
Mhm.
doing that, okay.
I think that's a good idea. And then the credit card account updater fee. That struck me as the answer that we were provided is that this will update a user, a client's, or a registrant's credit card if they get a new credit card.
That's
didn't-
only if the rec desk payment itself, they were to like call them and do it. If we do it, or if they do it by themselves, then that doesn't count. Like if they do it from home by themselves, there's not a dollar change.
I don't understand that.
So
So
if they call-
describe a scenario.
Right, if
when
they were
this-
to call rec desk to update their payment, rec desk specifically, they would charge $1. But if they were to
Just
go to the
register.
pool and just update their credit card, or if they were to go on to rec desk themselves to update their credit card, there wouldn't be a fee charged.
Okay. Do we have any idea how often this happens? I guess.
These are for
I mean, it's
for
their
if
fee
somebody's-
also, it's not ours, so.
Yeah. What was that, Dave?
like reoccurring, this would be for someone who does reoccurring payments, right? You would, is this because you have the credit card on file?
Well, through rec desk, the credit cards typically are on file, just so parents have the ease of
Yeah.
signing up for programs whenever they want.
Yep. And so parent gets a new credit card, they just go online and update it.
Yep.
If they don't have online access, then they have to call. But that means they called the first time to have their credit card.
So it's very seldom.
Yeah.
That would happen.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that, Laura. Okay, all right. So any further questions?
No.
All right, hearing none. All those in favor of recommending that council approve the rec desk payments agreement, subject to city attorney review and approval, signify by saying aye.
Hi,
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to our second agreement or contract, it's amendment number 5 to engineering services agreement with MSA for construction phase services for Parmenter Street reconstruction. This comes to us from Public Works, and we need this motion to be in an amount not to exceed $194,000.
okay, so we need Bill to bring that up. Sure. Make that motion to amend number 5, engineering service agreement with MSA for consulting phase services for Parmenter Street, not to exceed 194,000.
And I will second that. All right, discussion. You have no questions? All right. All those in favor of recommending that council approve amendment number 5 to engineering services agreement with MSA for construction phase services for Parmenter Street reconstruction in an amount not to exceed $194,000, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 3, task order 25-01, tax incremental district number 3 engineering support services with Strand and Associates Incorporated. We need this motion to be in an amount not to exceed $50,000, and this comes to us from Plan Commission. So I will move approval.
Okay,
So I'm the Plan Commission rep.
Norman will second that.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving task order 25-01, tax incremental district number 3 engineering support services with Strand and Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $50,000, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 4 is task order 2502, tax incremental district number 5 engineering support services with Strand and Associates, Inc. And I will move to recommend that council approve this task order in an amount not to exceed $75,000.
Okay, Norman will second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of recommending that council approve task order 2502, tax incremental district number 5 engineering support services with Strand and Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $75,000, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to bids and quotes. We have 8. First one is, and Matt, same thing. If there's anything that you need us to, or that you need to flag, let me know. Okay, the first one is the award of quote to Audio Contractors LLC for sound system at Bauman Community Pool. And this comes to us from the PRFC. And we need this in an amount not to exceed $24,521.92.
Sure, Lauren will make that motion. Award a quote for Audio Contract LLC for sound systems at Baldwin Community not to exceed 24,521.92.
And I will second that. Thank you.
If I can jump in with a quick question for Matt on this one.
Yeah.
So this is in the form of a proposal, which reads somewhat like an agreement. I was wondering if this needs to be in a formal agreement or if this can just be acceptance of the proposal.
I mean, I think we can accept all of these as,
Okay.
as just proposal. I mean, this is a delivery of,
Yeah, delivery and installation of
Equipment.
equipment.
right.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending that council approve the award of quote to Audio Contractors LLC for sound system at Bauman Community Pool in an amount not to exceed $24,521.92 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The next item is approval of the quote from Harris Golf Cars for Yamaha UMAX 2 EFI with range cage in an amount not to exceed $14,750. And this comes to us from the Pleasant View Golf Advisory Committee.
All right, Lauren will make that motion.
And I will second it. Okay, and I know Jeremy is here, so I just have a few questions, Jeremy, and I'll ask them all at the beginning since I think the rest of these, with the exception of number 8, are for the golf course. So first of all, thank you for the return on investment analysis for the autonomous mowers. Really appreciated seeing that. Was it the vendor who prepared those?
The vendor prepared the worksheet and then we plugged in the numbers appropriately.
Okay. All right, great. And then for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 purchases that we're going to be considering tonight, can you tell me how many are electric and how many are gas?
Yep. So just going down in order, the approval quote from Harris Golf Cars, that is a gas solution. We do not have the infrastructure in place, unfortunately, to have an electric vehicle over there. As much as we wanted to, it's just not right now feasible. We are continuing to look at some autonomous options in the future to help supplement that range picking solution.
Okay,
Still looking at that, and that potentially could come to fruition this year. But we need that gas powered vehicle, unfortunately, for the time being, because our current solution is no longer working.
okay. All right, I appreciate that.
Then, yeah, moving on. So then the number 3, that is certainly fully electric. Those 3 autonomous mowers, fairway mowers, and those would be replacing up to 3 diesel mowers.
Okay.
And frankly, outdated diesel mowers. So, we'd get rid of the most, I guess, negatively impact emissions, right? Mowers.
Great.
Let's see, what's the next one? The number 4, that is a battery operated lithium ion battery utility vehicle. Let's see, obviously furniture is not,
Right.
the Smithco, that is a pull sprayer. So that is not a
Powered.
power operated vehicle. It would be operated by that tractor, that Yanmar tractor. But I have a memo in place in regards to why we could not move forward with a battery operated tractor.
Okay.
So that would be a diesel powered tractor.
Okay. All right, thank you for that summary. And then, later this year, we'll be working on the 2026 budget, and just a heads up that the Sustainable Purchasing Policy Implementation Plan has been approved. And that's something that I know the Finance and Personnel Committee will be looking to the directors of the different departments to share with us their experiences going through the first budgeting process with that implementation plan in place. Okay, any questions about the Harris Golf Cars? All right, then all those in favor of recommending that council approve the quote from Harris Golf Cars for Yamaha UMAX 2 EFI with range cage in an amount not to exceed $14,750 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next one is the award of quote to Firefly Automatics for 3 AMP electric / autonomous 100-foot
100-inch.
100-inch fairway mowers in an amount not to exceed total $456,000.
And if I may, just to clarify on that one, so those are 3 units, right, that we had projected to replace in the future. It's just we wanted to take care of take an opportunity now where we have the funds in place. It would just we're expediting it this year as opposed to waiting until next year and then staggering it every 3 years.
Yep, thank you. You anticipated a question I was going to ask, so now I don't have to ask it. Okay, Alder Lorman, do you want to make the motion to?
Sure, I'll make that motion as you put forth.
And I will second it. Okay. And Matt, does this one need city attorney review and approval?
No.
Okay, I don't know why I had that one in there.
Was that for the AMP mowers?
Yeah,
I will say, like another thing too, and to me, I'm really proud of us taking the initiative of this. This is something that frankly is very innovative. And I'm really excited for, to hopefully share success stories to not just this city, but courses throughout the whole nation. So
Yeah.
we'll be the first in the state of Wisconsin. I know there's a course in Michigan that's having these, but anyway, this is a really unique opportunity for Pleasant View Golf Course in the city of Middleton, in my opinion.
that's great. We appreciate innovation and we're glad you're doing it. And Brian, can I ask that maybe when we get these, there'd be some sort of, press coverage that we're the first in the state to do it? Now that Sun Prairie has beaten us to becoming all electric or all clean energy. We'll get there. Okay. And this is coming from the golf courses capital reserve budget. So that's good.
Yeah, that is correct. So this is capital reserve.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
Got it. All right. Okay. Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of recommending that council approve the award of quote to Firefly Automatics, for 3 AMP electric autonomous 100-inch fairway mowers in an amount not to exceed $456,000, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 4, award of quote to, I keep seeing reindeers.
Reinders.
Reinders, thank you. Award of quote to Reinders for a Workman GTX lithium utility cart in an amount not to exceed $17,686.98.
Yeah, Laura, I'll make the motion as you stated.
Thank you. I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending that council approve the award of quote to Reinders for a Workman GTX lithium utility cart in an amount not to exceed $17,686.98, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 5, award of quote to Sister Bay for patio furniture at Pleasant View Golf Course in an amount not to exceed $72,043.
Okay, Laura, I'll make that motion as stated.
And I will second it. Questions? Do these come assembled?
They do.
Okay, good, because I noted.
Assembled, put on the patio. I mean, it's turnkey system.
Awesome. Okay,
And it also includes a 3-year maintenance service where they come and inspect them at the end of each year.
I noticed that. That looks good. I like that. Okay, all those in favor of recommending that council approve the award of quote to Sister Bay for patio furniture at Pleasant View Golf Course in an amount not to exceed $72,043, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to item 6, award of quote to Horst Distributing Inc. for a Smithco Model 31-300 sprayer in an amount not to exceed $28,785.
And Laura will make that motion as stated.
I will second it. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending that council approve the award of quote to Horst Distributing Inc. for a Smithco Model 31-300 sprayer in an amount not to exceed $28,785. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 7, award of quote to Baraboo Power Equipment for a Yanmar YT 359 tractor in an amount not to exceed $44,900.
All right, Laura will make that motion as stated.
And I will second it. Discussion? All right, all those in favor of recommending that council approve the award of quote to Baraboo Power Equipment for a Yanmar YT 359 tractor in an amount not to exceed $44,900, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Our eighth item is the award of bid to S&L Underground, Inc. in the amount of $3,183,744.61 for Parmenter Street reconstruction. This comes to us from the Public Works Committee,
Sure, on behalf of Public Works, Norman will make that motion as stated.
and I will second that. Discussion. Not even going to ask about the 61 cents.
Well,
It's kind of a funny amount.
Engineers.
Yeah, engineers. Okay, so all those in favor of recommending that council approve the award of bid to S&L Underground, Inc. in the amount of $3,183,744.61 for Parmenter Street reconstruction, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, moving on to miscellaneous. We have one item. It's the request for proposal for enterprise resource planning, ERP system selection consultant, and this comes to us from staff.
Yeah, I can start the discussion and provide some background on this. As you know, as part of the budget process for 2025, there was a capital item approved for an enterprise resource planning or ERP system, which would be a replacement to the city's financial software. And that combined with some funding that was approved from from general fund carryover provides the funding for this project. That is a large project. It includes the replacement of the city's financial software, which is used for general ledger accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivable, stores our budgeting information, as well as our utility billing information. The scope of this is potentially larger as well. And one of the goals that we identified was to also look at something that would be including or integrate with our human resources system and payroll system, which is currently provided by iSolved. And there is not a direct integration between those two, which currently results in a lot of exporting data, manipulating spreadsheets, importing data, going back and forth between the two systems. The scope of the project is also large in terms of the timeline. I've been through these type of implementations and talking to people in other municipalities. It's generally starts at a 12 to 18 month implementation process to go through, get the system set up, configured the way you want it, bring your data in, be running parallel, especially for things like payroll. You want to make sure that everything is working seamlessly before you move it over. And if we're looking at potentially general ledger, financials, payroll, and utility billing, that's a large process. So for those reasons, we're recommending that we issue this RFP, which is on the agenda, which would be to identify an ERP selection and implementation consultant. That would be a firm that specializes in these types of projects. They would help us in narrowing down our project goals, helping us evaluate our options in terms of going for a single solution that does everything, or if there is the opportunity to get a best-in-class financial system and HR system and integrate those. They would assist us in helping draft the RFP document and then going through the vendor evaluation process and contracting. At this point, this would not include implementation services. And generally, once you get to that point of implementation, we'd be working primarily with whatever vendor we select. But this would do everything up to that to go through that planning, RFP, selection, contracting process. And the tentative timeline that we have laid out, and this is highlighted, I think it's highlighted in yellow in the packet, would be to get this RFP out shortly, if approved this evening. We would hope to bring a ERP consultant on board this spring, be working with them on developing the RFP project goals and requirements over the summer so that we can get that RFP out and hopefully get responses back and a system selected prior to the end of this year, and hopefully before budgets would be finalized in case there's any implications there that we should be aware of. And then the goal would be that we would then start the implementation process during 2026. And assuming that's a one-year process, potentially look at going live in 2027. But obviously a consultant will help us with adjusting that timeline, and it depends on the scope and the direction that we end up going. So I think this is an important first step. Funding for this consultant would come from the funds that are already approved for this project. We put together this RFP based on an example from a couple communities, and specifically one that was provided by City of Wauwatosa. And we have a couple things that we need to work with Matt Fleming to drop in for the city's terms and conditions. But I wanted to bring this before you to first see if there is support from Finance Committee and Council to identifying a consultant. And if so, if this scope of work, terms, and deliverables seem acceptable. If this looks good, we'd work with the city attorney to finalize this, get this out, get proposals back, and then those proposals would come back to the Finance Committee and Council for approval, along with the specific dollar amount that would be requested. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Bill. Do you have any questions? I have a couple. So Wauwatosa provided their sample?
Yes, they provided an example of their RFP for both the consultant services as well as the RFP for the final solution that they went with. And I talked with their finance director, and he gave me some feedback of pros, cons, things they ran into.
Okay, I was going to ask, were there any changes that they recommended, like we wish we had put in something in the terms and conditions?
Yeah, there weren't specific terms and conditions items, but the main takeaway for the consultant that he recommended were two things. First of all, they had included additional process mapping. If you'll see it here, part of this would include process mapping for some of the key processes that we have across the different modules. So we would have that in place before we do the RFP, so that we have kind of, this is what we're currently doing, this is what we would like to be doing, and then making sure we get a system that meets those needs. He said that they, in addition to these, spent a lot of time going through a very specific payroll process mapping, which he said ended up being that useful. Because it was very specific, and it was, different systems handle it differently, but the end outcome is the same. So he said it wasn't beneficial to spend that much time and money developing that out until they had the vendor selection. So we have that scaled back. The other thing that he said on the financial side is that some of their specs that they had put together, he thought were overly specific and included lots of things that any quality system is going to be able to do. And he said, you really can save yourself some time on both developing the RFP and doing the evaluation if you focus on kind of the things that are outside the normal. He gave the example of, at this point, you don't need to say ability to produce an AP check, ability to produce a direct deposit file, focus on what are the things that would differentiate between the different systems. So we will make sure we incorporate those type of suggestions.
That's good information to have. And then on page 142, well, I'm looking at page 138, the following major business applications would likely be system replacement. I'm wondering, what about the lease system that we use? Is that something that could be integrated with this?
The fleet system?
No, the lease.
Oh, the lease system.
Yeah.
That is a good question. I think that is certainly one that we would like to take a look at. When we were looking at the lease systems, when we went with DebtBook, at that time, a lot of ERPs were not offering that, and it was kind of standalone solutions coming in. But just given how much usage there is now, I think that would be worth revisiting. So that's something we could probably add a bullet for that, and at least have that discussion with a consultant to say, based on where things are in the industry today, is that something we could look at including?
Yeah, I think that would be worth looking into. And then finally, just a question on page 142, it mentions one electronic version must be submitted. And my question is, if it's protected, if the file is protected, will we be able to make copies and share that?
That is the intention, that we would get a copy that we can copy, distribute, make printed copies. We just didn't want consultants to prepare 20 bound copies, because we don't need that.
Okay, just making sure. All right. And do you need a motion from us or just support when we get to the,
I think it would be appropriate if there's support from Finance Committee to make a motion and then council can act on that recommendation.
okay.
And I think at this point, if there's not a specific cost, it would just be a recommendation to proceed with issuing an RFP for ERP services.
Okay. This is in the consent agenda. So I guess, yeah. Go for it.
Oh, that's fine. We're just making a motion to
Recommend that.
simply recommend. So I guess it says your subject request for proposal, so we'll just say we're making a recommendation to common council that the city proceed with an RFP for an ERP. I just can't pull back on that one, sorry. And that was it.
All right, so we have a motion and I'll second that. So we have a motion to recommend the council. How did you phrase it? Approve the
Yep,
city issuing an RFP for an ERP
yep, that's it.
system selection consultant. Okay. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We've reached the end of our agenda and we are adjourned. Let's see if this.
RFP for an